Everyone. Thanks for taking a look at this video. Um, just excited to be here today to really help you guys through the start of your AI journey and kind of let you know what I've been doing and help you kind of avoid like a lot of the how do I do this questions when it comes to some of these things that we need to be using in our business to really take us to that next level. So today we're going to be talking about GPTs and how to build them so that they can work for you, save you some time, save you some money maybe, and just put some more time back in your own workflow. So I'm going to share my screen here. This is ChatGPT, obviously, and you're going to need the paid version of ChatGPT to be able to use this. So if you're not wanting to pay for the GPTs or um, not sure about that yet, then you won't be able to do this. But throw in the $20 a month, and this opens up a whole new world for you. Um, and if but if you're not going to do that, you don't even need to watch this video to be honest. But okay, so here's your GPTs. Once you started creating them, you can go in here and see all the ones that you've already built. Um, which I've built a few of them, and we'll kind of go through those in a second to give you some ideas on maybe what you can start building for yourself. Um, but you're going to open up the GPT section, which is just this little button over here. You're going to hit create, and it's going to bring up your configure screen. Uh, this is the easiest thing to build. Like it shouldn't take you more than 3 or 4 minutes to really build this thing out, especially because it can pretty much build itself now. Um, but today, let's just kind of walk through this, show you how to build it for yourself for your own like guideline support is one of the things that I've been doing that saved me the most amount of time, so I don't have to read guidelines as much anymore. Um, so when you're opening this up, you have two sections. You have your configure section, you've got your create section. In the create section, you could just really walk it through what you want to build in plain language. You just talk, ask it anything or tell it anything down here at the bottom and it'll build it for you with you just telling it what you want. I personally like to go through the configure section to configure it exactly how I want it for each specific thing. So in this example, we'll just do FHA or Fannie Mae guidelines, right? So we want to build a bot that knows the guidelines for conventional loans or government loans. So you call it FHA and conventional guideline support. Um, give it a description uh, for loan officers to save time on reading guidelines. Instructions. This is where it gets a little bit more in depth. We'll come back to that in a second. Conversation starters is going to be what's going to show up underneath the model just to give the users ideas of what they can ask. So you can say, what's the minimum down payment on FHA? And obviously, these are just super simple questions. I'm just going, random questions that I don't have to think about too much. Um, what's the uh, what is an upfront mortgage insurance premium? Right? And so whatever you put here gives you ideas of what you can ask. You don't have to put those there. It's just if you're going to be if you have a team or something else like that to give them help on ideas on what they can ask. Um, recommended models. This is going to be what's going to help you the most get away from hallucinations. So if you're building these and using this for guideline support and using it to um, really help your mortgage business, you need to know what a hallucination is. Um, these LLMs or language models, learning language models, or like OpenAI and Grok and all of these different systems, the AI essentially, it's a predictive model, right? And so it predicts what it, it's a forward prediction. An example, like if it's reading a guideline or um, matrix inside the guidelines. It's going to read the first half of that guideline, and then it's going to predict what's going to happen in the second half of that matrix. And what happens a lot of the times is going to get wrong what happens in the bottom half, and then and so it's going to make something up and give you the answer that it doesn't know for sure. Essentially, it's just predicting what it would be, and it's to save time and it's to give it more like depth in its ability to have these models, right? And so it's a predictive thing. But for us, that's bad because we want it to read the whole matrix and give us the correct answer. So you have to use these different models to help it stay away from that as much as possible. What I've found is the 4.0 model. It was before they did this last update, the bringing out the GPT-5. This was called the GPT 3.0, and under the ChatGPT 4 models. Um, but this is a specific model that is for, coding and reading documents and stuff like that. It takes longer to answer, but it actually reads the whole thing and gives you correct answers. Okay. So in this thing, since we're building a guideline support, we're going to take away web search because I don't want it to go out and search for weird answers that may be outdated. Like that was one of the first problems that I had. It would go out and it would search the guidelines on the web. It would find an old guideline or an old PDF that was no longer in use, and then it would give me the answer based on that document when I didn't, when it's actually incorrect because it's finding something that's outdated, right? So we take away web search, we take away Canvas, we take away image generation. We don't need it in this, but we do want code interpreter and data analysis because that's what's going to get in there and read documents that we're going to give it. Okay. So the next thing we want to do is give it some knowledge. We want to train it on what it can do. So easiest thing you can do is just come in here. I'm sure you've got these saved. You go to your guidelines, you find your FHA guideline, and then you come back and you go to your guidelines and you get your Fannie Mae guidelines, you know. And keep in mind, if you have these saved, I learned the hard way a few years back that these do not, the links that you can get off of the, Fannie Mae or HUD website, they don't change, or they don't update the documents naturally. So this is always going to stay this from May 2025. So you want to know when they update these and get the most recent version saved. That's probably the biggest hurdle that you have to overcome with this is that you're going to need to continuously, every time they come out with updates, update your GPT so that it knows the most recent information and up-to-date answers, right? So um, once you have your guidelines, you download that into a PDF. And I pushed the wrong one here. I mean, if you don't know, you can also just search 4000.1 and it should pop up with the most recent handbook here too. Um, and I think it's right here. Nope. Now, either way, I already got them saved. So you're going to come back, upload your files, and you're going to go to your um, guidelines that you have saved. And I'm going to come in here, guidelines, and then I have my forming, and we're just going to do the 4000.1, and we're going to do Freddie and Fannie. And if you want to do 203Ks, you throw that in there. And if you have overlays, so if the bank that you're using has overlays, then you throw that stuff in there as well, right? You open it up, it opens it, it reads it, and it trains itself on all of those guidelines. So now this is ready to go pretty much as soon as these finish uploading. It doesn't take very long at all. Um, and then you're good to go. So now it's trained. But you do need to give it instructions so that it knows how to answer, what to look for, and how to behave, really, because one of my documents didn't upload as fine. So this is where you guys can be a little bit more creative and give it, and this is where you train it to give it to answer the way that works best for you. For me, I want short answers. I want um, bullet pointed. I don't want to spend an hour reading the guideline that I could have just looked up anyway. I want it to give me a summary, but I don't want it to hallucinate and give me wrong information. So this is where I'm going to train it to get rid of those hallucinations. I'm going to give it specific instructions to not have to do that, to not give me the wrong information. And I've got a whole bunch of stuff already written out, so I'm going to go to one that I've already created and just copy it, and then we can show you how that worked out. So I'm going to use my in-house agency loan tool, edit, and expand my search here, take my stuff, and I'm just going to paste this in here, and then we'll go over this, right? So this took me a while, and I've added to it and taken away from it. Um, but essentially, you're training it to um, be an assistant designed for loan officers, right? You want to avoid hallucinations. So to to avoid hallucinations, we want to make sure that the user, whoever's using this, if you're letting other people use it, is using the correct model. They're not using GPT-5 or thinking 5 thinking. They're using the 4.0. So check the model. Have it warning the user that they're not using their correct model, and then asking them to switch. Now, um, if they don't switch, still letting them use it. It just is going to give them this notification that, hey, if you're using 5, you have a higher risk of hallucinations and having wrong answers. So make sure you double check. Um, Even with the 4.0, there still are hallucinations. Okay. So you still need to really kind of double check and make sure that it's giving you the right answer. Like if you're fighting with an underwriter and saying that, hey, this is something that we can do or we can't do or whatever it is, or we don't need, and you're getting all of your information from the answer that you got from GPT, you may want to double check that sometimes before you go that route. Um, so for government loans, adhere to the current rule, reflecting that they have eliminated the non-permanent residence category from eligibility. So one of the problems that I was having is on guideline changes. I would um, upload something saying, hey, this guideline had changed, but it was still going back and trying to give me the wrong answer. So I just came in here and put, hey, no more non-permanent residence on FHA. And from then on, it got it right. Um, so um, watch out for rule changes like the rule change for 203K loans that now allow up to 12 months. I couldn't get it. If it's not giving you the correct answer on some things that you know should be changed, then just come in here and give it the right answer, and going forward, it will. Um, I have a way to make this a little easier now, but it's a little bit more complicated than just this little GPT video. So we'll do that in another video. Um, Tools to avoid hallucination adheres rigidly to uploaded guidelines. Like you'll remove all the CMG stuff, obviously. So um, we're gonna take yeah, here too. So if you have another lender that you're going to be using, right? So if you're doing it through Rocket or UWM or one of your brokers, you're going to want to get a list of all their overlays or their guidelines, and you're going to want to upload them to this. If the lender doesn't have any overlays, then great, you can remove this piece of it. But you'll put something like if the lender I am using has a policy or overlay other than the agency guideline. Uh, the assistant must present the overlay first, then label it clearly as an overlay and present the baseline guideline for comparison, right? So the reason I did it this way is because I want to know I can't do this because it's an overlay. Let me go look for another bank where I can do it. Right. So if I can't do it at Rocket Mortgage because they've got an overlay, but Fannie Mae allows it, then you know what? I need to look at UWM, and I know that we can't do both of those, right? But I need to look at this other lender, um, Plaza or whatever lender does them that goes by the guidelines directly and doesn't have the overlays. So I want to know I can do that. So that's why I have that section in there. Um, you can use things like core behavior to make sure that it's really looking at this stuff. You can do bullet pointed stuff, and I won't go through the rest of this because it gets a little bit longer. But you want to give it some additional rules. Don't reconstruct or summarize. Don't you want it to quote the matrices exactly. You want it to look at the entire matrix. So put those rules in here if you're building an agent like this. And then matrix rules, like I started putting in here that I wanted to see the actual matrix verbatim. I had a little footnote in one that was giving me a 660 FICO, but it only applied to refinances and not purchases. Um, so I had to train it specifically. Okay, if there's something in a refinance column, you can make sure that you're only putting it towards the refi. Um, Scenario handling, parsing confirm every scenario using exact data. So it's a lot of use exact because you have to prompt that over and over again to make sure that it's not going to give you that fake answer, um, and that it actually reads the entire thing that you need it to read, right? So give it a mission, reduce credit overlays, enforce policy fidelity, avoid disqualification errors by sticking rigidly to what's written in the guidelines. Answers are to be short. So this is where I'm telling you, I want it to be short. I want it to be designed to save the user time. I want it to and having to read unnecessary amounts of data. Try to give only the needed information. Um, so um, yeah, I mean it's pretty self-explanatory, guys. Like keep in mind, like a lot of this stuff, like it's my brain kind of saying, okay, I need it to act like this. I want it to act like this. The way it's written in this is all done by ChatGPT. It's not me like writing every word of this. I didn't write all this. I just said I want it to do this, or it's doing this wrong. Write something for my instructions that I can put into my instructions so it doesn't do that anymore, or it does it this way. Um, so it's it's just a little bit of trial and error sometimes. If it's not giving you the correct thing, then you just, you fix it and you have it and you tell it to fix itself. Um, all right. And so we've gone over naming it, giving it a description, giving it instructions, making up some conversation starters, giving it the data that it needs to have a knowledge base, and giving it a recommended model to use, and giving it, and then the capabilities that you're giving it. Right? So now all you got to do is if you want to give it a profile picture, you can upload a photo or you can just use the one that's included and it'll generate its own little profile photo. And then once that's all done, you hit create and you're done. You got your own little GPT that's going to know the FHA and conventional guidelines and save you some time on having to read it. And, I'll tell you that I've saved so many hours of trying to read guidelines because what I would used to do is I'd screenshot the guideline and send it to the underwriter, and they'd say something back. And now I'm just really like having this answer the underwriters for me. And so I'll put the I'll just screenshot the condition, the underwriter condition, and put it in here and say, is the underwriter right? And then it'll say, nope, they're not right. And then I'll say, okay, write an email to the underwriter, um, to explain or to convince them essentially that they're incorrect. And it writes the perfect email, and I just send that email off, and there we go. Um, you can also write that into the instructions here too, which I did on a separate GPT of like underwriter communication, and then I train it based on specific underwriters and how they respond, and there's so many things you can do with this stuff that it's it's really worth just diving into, making a few things, saving yourself some time, and just getting it done. So um, I'd like to hear some examples. So my thought process on building these is anything that takes me time that I can like say, oh, hey, this takes me a couple hours a day, or this takes me at least an hour a day. I'm going to try and build a GPT that's going to reduce that time as much as possible. Um, I'd love to hear from you guys where you're saving time, the GPTs that you come up with, or the ones that you want to create or have created that have saved you time or helped you out. Love to hear about how that's working for you guys, and um, be great to keep up. So talk to you guys soon, and have a great day.